it's important to support farmers, no matter if they work within a specialty chain or conventional chain or whatever chain or whatever method. The important thing is the farmer and roaster will be very aligned in terms of sustainability, because we could have sustainability in traditional or conventional ways if we do the things in the right way, using the right techniques, and it will be very safe to drink that coffee.
Friends, we have an announcement. On October 28, 29 and 30, Maple Forward is proud to present the first of its kind live online event titled Introduction to Regenerative Coffee Farming. This workshop will happen live in 3 different events in English, Spanish and Portuguese to help coffee producers and the rest of us in the coffee industry understand regenerative ag and how to implement it so that coffee farmers stand a chance at surviving these brutal weather conditions long into the future. It will also help us understand how we can talk about regenerative ag to our customers. This live online presentation will be led by highly specialized and experienced agronomists, coffee producers, and agricultural engineers who have worked transforming coffee farms from conventional farms to regenerative farms and agroforestry around the world. Tickets are $10 for coffee producers and $150 for everybody else. When you pay $150 though, you're securing your ticket and the ticket of 14 other coffee producers that didn't quite have the funds to pay for their own tickets. Not only does your ticket buy you access to the workshop, but it also gives you access to newly formed WhatsApp groups, one in English, one in Spanish, one in Portuguese, where people can continue to exchange information and ideas about regenerative ag before and after the workshops. For more details, head to mapleforward.coffee/workshops. Check the link in the show notes for details and help us spread the word about this workshop by sharing our posts on social media. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 1 of a brand new 5-part series with seasoned professional on this podcast, Jonas Ferraresso, agronomist from Brazil. Welcome back to the podcast, sir.
Hi, Lee. Hi, everyone. It's nice to be back here again.
I think is this your second time this year?
I think so.
I think that's a first that we've done that. So that's a claim that you've got. the first person to be on the podcast twice in 1 year, I think. Either way, it's always a pleasure to have you on the podcast. The reason we want to have this discussion, folks, is because this is a very, very unusual year in Brazil. And the theme of this series is the economics of the different ways of growing coffee in Brazil. This times perfectly with this idea of this emergence of this theme that seems to be coming through in a lot of conversations of regenerative agriculture, terms like that, terms like agroforestry, monocropping, conventional farming, all of these different things. There's not one size fits all. And so when Jonas and I were having this conversation off air one day, I'm like, we've got to get you on the podcast to help us understand this. So Jonas, in this episode, we're asking the question, what are the different coffee growing methods and approaches? What are they?
The most known and settled methods, I think, is the conventional way, that it's basically a pack of technology that farmers use. Could be worldwide too, because it's a bunch of techniques that I think today the most part of the coffee worldwide is grown that way, because Brazil use that techniques of conventional growing, the organic, which is using less or no agrochemicals, or no the kind of chemicals that is regulated by some certified institution. The agroforest system that used in many countries, and is the way that most of the customers think that coffee is grown because of the reference worldwide of growing. And the regenerative growing, which is something that is not new. It's something that was developed. Maybe I read about 30 or 40 years ago.
Okay.
And the idea of regenerative, because regenerative growing is more idea, and now it's more about certified too, because there are certifications that say, okay, this is regenerative, this is not. I think this is the methods that we could talk about.
Okay. When we were having a conversation and we were talking about, how this is a very unusual year in Brazil. Why is it an unusual year in Brazil? Before we take a deep dive on the specifics of the difference, let's lay the land. And why is this year? You're an agronomist. You have to study the patterns of weather and the patterns of different crops. What is so unusual about what's going on in Brazil this year?
One thing that is striking Brazil for a long time, it's climate-related changes in cropping. But usually coffee, it's a little bit more sensitive because it's a perennial crop. So if something related to climate happens now, it will affect the plant and the production for 2 or 3 years in a row.
Help me understand what perennial means. Sorry to interrupt you there, but before we go, what does that mean, perennial?
Perennial, it's crops that we plant and we harvest and take care for 5, 8, 15, 20 years, like coffee. In some areas, they could take care of the coffee plant for 25 or 30 years until they replant again. Different for annual cropping like soy or maize, that we have like 90 or 120 days since planting until harvesting.
Okay. And with those annual crops, do you need to pull up the plants and then plant again?
Yeah, usually yes, because we have techniques to maintain the cropping using prune methods, cut the tree and things like that. But usually the best way is plant again because of the technology.
Right.
Like if I'm growing a coffee that was planted 30 years ago, many aspects of technology is still for 30 years ago, like varieties, genetics, space gridding between the trees and things like that. So the plant is, can I say, viable for still be in the field, but they are outdated in terms of technology, mainly related to genetics. And we could use the best example is related to coffee leaf rust. Usually the old varieties are not coffee leaf rust resistant. So if I still growing these varieties, I still using technology for 30 years ago in terms of genetics, for instance.
Okay. And so this year, if we continue to talk about what's unusual about this year, I suspect that the weather is the number one thing that, people who have been coming on the podcast, we've had a lot of your colleagues, your Brazilian colleagues on the podcast this year, which is fantastic. But a lot of them have been talking about temperature.
Yeah, it's the worst part of climate this season.
Okay. So when we talk about climate, people have emotional reactions to the term climate change. When it comes to agriculture, this is not about, is this a real thing or isn't it a real thing? Farmers are seeing this in real life having to take place. People don't quite understand that food security is going to be a problem into the future because of climate. And what we're trying to do with this podcast is to help people understand that not only is, like, on top of all the things that are going on with regards to coffee, the actual supply of coffee is under threat if we don't pay attention to what's happening at the farm level related to climate at the moment. So can you be more specific by what you mean when you say the climate is affecting crops in Brazil?
Yeah, I think this season we are facing a different level of problem which are related to temperature, because always temperature it's unstable. But this season we have like high temperatures for a long period of time, for a long month in a row. And temperature is the hardest thing to control in terms of agriculture, because I know we have techniques to do that, like agroforest, but it's not something that you could use to mitigate in a year. We need time to like grow a tree, wait for that, and then have the level of protection that we need for coffee, which is different in terms when we talk about drought, which we could use irrigation, which is more dependent to the level of investment of the farmer and the area that the farmer are located, if they have water availability.
Yes.
Availability in the area to do the irrigation. So it's let's say a short term, but temperature is very complicated to deal. And we have in Brazil many days, which in the coffee area, but we could say in almost all the country, which temperatures above 33 degrees Celsius. And I use this as a standard because coffee is very sensitive when the temperature are above 33 degrees Celsius. It's when the coffee plant is starting to have very real problem related to photosynthesis and production of energy, like carbohydrates and everything. So the plant kind of, let me say, collapse in terms of physiology. So the fruit growing are affected, the branch growing, the root. So we have temperatures usually in Brazil above 33 degrees during the summer, but not for so many days in a row. You know, if the coffee are affected 1, 2, or maybe 15 days along the season, it's fine. But this season, the last season, 2023, 2024, we have many days that happens. That is why the coffee was so much affected by temperatures this season.
And when you combine high temperatures with no rain, and from what I understand for coffee plants, if it goes for an extended period of time without rain, the plant sort of shuts down. So just getting rain after that doesn't mean that it's going to absorb the rain. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, it's part of the whole process of the coffee plant, and most of the plants is related to store of energy and spending of energy. So during stress, plants are not storing energy, it's spending energy in order to survive, like with evaporation of the water in the ground, in the plant. I think, I don't know if perspiration is the right term for plants too. So this spend a lot of energy for the plant to control.
To cool itself down?
Yeah, it's part of the mechanism of the plants to survive. So when the rains get back, first the plant needs to store energy again in order to spend energy. So it takes time to everything happens. For instance, the energy for the plants came from the sun, and the leaves are the place that the plant capture all this energy. Right. So when we have a long period of drought or high temperatures or plagues or diseases or anything that's stress, usually many leaves are fall in the ground. So the plants lost the capacity to store, to capture energy and store it. So first, the plant will grow new leaves, capture, and then start to the physiology mechanism of the plant to start to run again as normal, but it takes time to do that. It's not about just the rains and everything is fine, because there are many processes that need to happen to the plant start to work again.
When we look at what you've just told us about the mechanisms of a coffee tree, when we look at that and combine it with the different approaches to agriculture and growing coffee, what other things, like, I guess now's a good time for us to kind of deep dive into what is the difference between, let's say, agroforestry and regenerative farming and organic farming. You talked about it on a very high level, but can we talk about it at a little more detail? Because I suspect that the ability to, or the availability and access to do these different types of farming will be as important a decision on whether your crop survives or not as if it rains. Am I right? And what I mean by that is regenerative farming is not something that you can start today and it's successful today. Agroforestry is an even longer game, right? So conventional farming, as you were saying, was using synthetic fertilizers, etc., etc. The approach that's taken there is using inputs to help the process along the way, whereas regenerative agriculture and agroforestry are not. When you as a producer or an agronomist take the decision to go in a different direction with the way that you're doing, with the way you're approaching agriculture, I guess, is that a determining factor of the success of your crops long term?
Yeah. One thing that I always said to the farmers and to people that are interested in the coffee, which is coffee and all the crops are unnatural and stable ways to do agroecology, because no matter what we do, it's not natural to have a single crop or two crops or three crops, no matter how many crops you do, doing in order to put more stability to your growing
business model.
But the model is always unstable. It's part of the model of agriculture, no matter the way that you do. What we could do as a technician or agronomist, it's how we put layers of protection. I always said that. So how much layers of protection or stability we could do in that area in order to have more kind of natural way to growing stuff. So if we use a lot of organic matter in the soil, that means I put a layer of protection. If I use agroforest system, another layer. If I use resistant crops, another layer, and so on and so on. So even regenerative in agriculture methods, we need inputs in order to have some kind of production, because we always take nutrients of the area and export them in form of different forms in terms of coffee, in forms of coffee beans. So when the farmer harvests a bag of coffee, they take nitrogen, potassium, and zinc and everything which are inside the coffee bean and take out. So we need to put it back. If we do not do that, the soil will be depleted in a long term. Right. Because I'm taking nutrients out. When we talk about natural system, this is not what happens. So the cycle of the forest and the ground and the animals is in order to sustain the whole forest system. So just small parts of the nutrients are get out, but the system are always very, very stable. In agriculture, we have to put back, no matter if I use manure or fertilizer or anything, but it's important to get back nutrients to the soil because the soil it's will be depleted maybe in a long term if we're talking about regenerative farming, but we have to put nutrients back in the soil.
I have an interesting question. Why should coffee roasters, baristas, cafe owners, why should they care about this? You as an agronomist, I don't know if you've ever thought about this. Why should they care?
I think it's about raw material. I think for roasters, it's important to know that farming, no matter the way that farming is done, needs to be well done in order to have raw material for customers. Because if people like follow me or listen to the other podcast, know that for me it's not related to the way that the farmer grow coffee, but the best way that the farmer could grow coffee, no matter it's conventional, organic. Will be awesome if everyone grows regenerative and organic, but I know it's not a reality and will be not a reality in
for a long
term.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's complicated and expensive, and we will talk about that later. And so it's important to support farmers, no matter if they are they work within a specialty chain or conventional chain or whatever chain or whatever method. The important thing is the farmer and roaster will be very aligned in terms of sustainability, because we could have sustainability in traditional or conventional ways if we do the things in the right way, using the right techniques, and it will be very safe to drink that coffee. So it's important to support all the kind of farming and maybe bring some education in order to show to like conventional or traditional farmers in order, okay, we could have more layers of protection if we use more organic matter, no matter if I'm not organic farming, but organic matter is important to the protection in terms of climate, for instance, because organic matter gives more resilience to the soil, more structure, which is more related to soil than the method that you use to grow, you know?
And it's a part of the long-term economics of the farm. Do you see what I just did there? Because that's what our next episode is going to be about, folks. By maintaining good soil, you are investing in the long-term viability of your business model. So that's what we're going to talk about in the next episode, the economics associated with the different farming approaches. So join us in the next episode. Thank you, Jonas. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, friends. Please don't forget to show us some love by subscribing, liking, commenting, and most of all, sharing this podcast with your friends. Check the show notes for links, including our sponsors and our Patreon. And stay tuned for more great conversations on the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward.